The Old Testament book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, and verses 11 through 18. The 8th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy, beginning with the 11th verse, and I will read down through verse 18. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who led thee through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions, and drought where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand hath gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. I want to talk about the advantages of adversity. The advantages of adversity. Thank you, Ushers. Amen. The advantages of adversity. The book of Deuteronomy is the 5th book of the books of law, which is also known as the Pentateuch. This book was written by Moses. The key word in this book, as you know, is the word remember. Here we see that Moses and the children of Israel had already come through the wilderness, and the children of Israel were close to crossing over the Jordan to go into the land of Canaan. But Moses wanted to remind them of the importance of living by God's word. He wanted them to always keep before them God's law, God's statutes, and God's commandments. He wanted them to understand how important it is to stay close to God and to do what God said. In this book, even in this chapter alone, he tells them that you need to look back and see how good he's been to you. You need to look ahead at what God has in store for you. And you need to always look up and know that without him, none of this will be possible. And so, my brothers and sisters, he reminds them of the hardships and the adversities that they had experienced in traveling through the wilderness. And he wanted them to know that you got to do what God said. If you don't, you're going to miss what God has in store for you. He knew, and he was reminding them that because many did not learn the lessons that God wanted them to learn, that they did not get to go into the land of Canaan. And so he tells them that we went through all that trouble because God had a reason for what we went through. And I come to tell you this morning and to share with you that God allows us to have trouble for a reason. God allows us to experience hardships and struggles in this life because he want to teach us some lessons. it's obvious that there are some lessons we can learn only when we have to struggle, that we can't get when things are always going smooth. God allows us to have hardships because he want to teach us something. And one of the things he wants us to learn is, first of all, who he is and the importance of living by his word and the importance of leaning on him to take care of his own. And so, my brothers and sisters, God, even through hardships, have lessons for you and I to learn. And so as we look at this text today for a few minutes, let's see what we can learn from this passage of Scripture. Let's see how God can bring some pluses out of our negatives. How God can take our bitter experiences and give us something sweet. First of all, as I look at the scriptures that we read, I see, first of all, the abundance in the text. Look at verse 12 as he talks to them. He says that when thou hast eaten and art full, and have goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when your herds and your flocks and your silver and gold multiply. Now, brothers and sisters, he's talking about abundance. He says, now look, there's going to come a time when God's going to bless you. And he's going to bless you to have an abundance. He says, now listen, God is so good that he'll give you something to fill your stomach. That's what he was talking about when he said, when you have eaten and become full. And you know, right there, you can't help but admit that God has been good to us, because he blesses us to eat and get full. Are y'all praying with me this morning? Don't you know you and I could have been standing somewhere in a soup line. We could have been starving somewhere. But God blesses us to eat and get full. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I had an aunt named Ella Mae, and my grandmama Freddie would always tell me when we cook and have me sit down, they say, baby, eat till you get full. Even when I finish, they put more on my plate. Say, I want you to get full. It's a blessing in getting full. It makes no difference whether it's beef or bologna. It's a blessing to get full. I don't care if it's filet mignon or filet-o-fish from McDonald's. It's a blessing to eat and get full. How often when you get through eating and get full do you lift up your hands and say, Lord, thank you for blessing me to get full. You are blessed when you're able to eat and get full. That's something, he says, for your stomach. But then he gives us a place for shelter. Because the text said when you have built goodly houses. That's what he said in the verse, and you live in your house. That's shelter. If you got a roof over your head, you ought to know that I'm blessed. You could have been sleeping under a bridge, sleeping on a street car. Am I right about it? But thank God for the roof over your head. You got shelter. Amen. I don't care if you're renting, leasing, borrowing, or owning. You ought to thank God you got shelter. You got a roof over your head. Amen. So he says that you have shelter. You're blessed because not only you have something for your stomach, but you're blessed because you will have shelter. But that's not all. He says you are blessed when you have a surplus. He says when your flocks and your herd multiply. When your silver and gold has multiplied. And all that you have has multiplied. In other words, when you get extra, are you listening to me? When you get some extra, listen, if you get extra sometime, you are blessed. God sometimes don't just give you enough, but sometimes he'll give you extra. Are y'all listening to me? That's why you ought not complain about what you got, because God can give you extra. Amen. He give you some extra. He specializes in giving you extra. Might be some of you in here, at one time you were so sick, didn't look like you would get over your sickness. And you even pray and say, Lord, bless me to live long enough to see my grandbabies get grown, or see my children get grown. And God not only let you see your children get grown, but you've been around here long enough to see the grandbabies and even the great-grandbabies. He gave you extra. The Bible says the days of our years are 70, that's 70. And anybody in here that's over 70, you got some extra. Are y'all listening to me? Yes. You know, 70 is in the fourth quarter. Am I right about it? You know, from 0 to 18, that's the first quarter. From 18 to 35, that's the second quarter. As a matter of fact, when you get 35, you at halftime. Are you listening to me? 36 to 50 is third quarter. 50 to 70 is fourth quarter. And anything over 70 is overtime. You ought to thank God for the extra surplus. When you got a little extra change in your pocket, God bless you. You ought to know you're blessed because he's given you extra. That's the abundance in the text. But not only in the verse do I see the abundance in the text when I look at verses 12 and 13, but when I look at verse 14, I see the amnesia in the text. Because the verse said, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget. Are y'all listening to me? You forget the Lord your God. Yeah, that's amnesia. That's not Alzheimer's. See, Alzheimer's is when you want to remember and you can't. Amnesia many times in this instance is when you can and choose not to. That's this kind of amnesia. It's not that they can't, they refuse to do it. Yeah. God's people are guilty of forgetting about God. And this is what he says here in the text. He talks about some things that you ought not ever forget. He said, first of all, you ought not forget that he delivered you. That's the part of the verse when he talks about how he brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You were enslaved. You were stuck and couldn't get out. And the only way you got out, it was the Lord who delivered you. And I wonder, is there anybody in here other than myself who know that God has delivered you from some stuff? Am I right about it? We were caught up in our mess. We were torn up from the floor up. But God stepped in and he delivered us. And you ought not forget what he brought you from. Am I right about it? Don't forget. First of all, don't forget that he delivered you. Then don't forget the dangers he brought you through. The dangers, it's in the verse. Look at the part where he said, he led thee through that great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions. That's the danger he brought you through. Now there are two types of dangers that he mentions in this verse. First of all, he said he brought you through dangers seen. When he talked about the fiery serpent. Because back in Numbers 21, we saw serpents attack the children of Israel. That that symbolized dangers seen. You know God has kept you from some dangers that you saw. He brought you through some dangers that you were looking at with your own eye. He kept you through dangers seen. But the text says he also kept them through dangers unseen. I was looking, trying to find where scorpions had attacked them. But I didn't see anywhere where scorpions attacked them like the snakes did. Now, the scorpions were there. They didn't see them. Are y'all listening? They were there. They didn't see them. They were close to them. But the Lord kept them from the scorpion. That's him keeping us from danger unseen. And you don't know how much danger we've been in that we couldn't even see. Some stuff that could have taken us out. Some stuff that could have done us harm. But the only reason why I didn't was because God kept us from the unseen danger. But not only that, but we see we ought not forget the fact that he was there for us when it was dry. Look at the verse. He said, when there was no water. You were in a dry place. And notice what God did. He brought the water and the manna to you. Have I got a witness? God gave them water where there was no water. And I wonder if there anybody here can still be a witness that God can make a way even when you can't see a way. He specializes in bringing blessings where blessings can't be found. He said you ought not forget it. Don't ever forget it. Don't forget the ways he's made for you. That's the amnesia. But then I see the advantage. I see the advantages in the text. Because verse 16 tells us here that why he brought them through adversity. Why they went through the trouble that they went through. Look at the verse. That he might humble thee. And that he might prove thee. And to do thee good at thy latter end. He did that so we could get rid of the arrogance. Because sometimes we get high-minded. Sometimes we get beside ourselves. But God has to send a little trouble in our life to bring us to our knees. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own way, we don't have time to pray. But God will send trouble in our house and will bring us to our knees again to help us to humble ourselves. Sometimes we start acting like we better than other folk. Some of us get a new car, we start acting loud up at the, you understand, get a new house, act better than other folk. Forgot we used to live on the other side of the track. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes we get beside ourselves. Sometimes we work out, get buff, get pretty hair, got you some new hair, start acting like you're better than other folk. God let something come along to make you humble again. I wish I had some praying for you. God knows how to help us to get rid of the arrogance. Am I right about it? But then he does it so that he will reveal our allegiance. Yeah, you know, it's easy to say you love the Lord and that you living for God when things are going fine. Talking about I bless the Lord at all times. When you got money in your pocket. Oh, y'all listen to me. When everything going fine. But can you still bless it when you're broke? Can you still bless it when you're farming for a ride? Can you still bless it when folks start lying on you, talking about you? Are y'all listening to me? And God has a way of proving whether we really are who we say we are. Amen. test our allegiance to him. And then he teaches us to be appreciative. He takes us through hardships so we'll learn to appreciate what he does for us. Are y'all listening to me? Sometimes we act like we don't appreciate what the Lord has already done. And sometimes you don't realize how blessed you are until you no longer have that blessing. God wants to teach us to be appreciative of everything he does for us. But then he also does it because what he's going to do for us after a while. He brought you through that so that he can make things good for you later on. That's what he's talking about when he said to do you good at the latter end. You can't see it right now, but if you just hang on, keep your hand in God's hand, keep trusting him. It may get rough sometimes, but you hold on. God gonna make things right for you. No wonder the psalmist said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Paul said, we know all things work together for good to them that love God and who are the called according to his purpose. Sometimes you got to go through something so you can see what God got for you up the road. Am I right about it? If Joseph could testify, Joseph would tell you, yes, that's right. My own brothers stripped me of my coat, threw me in a pit, sold me to merchants passing through, took me down to Egypt. I was bought off the auction block by a man named Potiphar. I became a servant in his house, and the Lord blessed my hands. Everything I was doing, he blessed me in Potiphar's house. Miss Potiphar tried to seduce me. When I turned her down, she turned on me. She lied on me. I got locked up in prison, stayed there for 2 years. But after 2 years, God brought me out and made me the secretary of Egypt. I became a ruler in the land of Egypt. I couldn't see it at the time, but God brought the past later on. If you just keep your hand in God's hand, hold on, he'll work it out. Well, I got the clothes. But not only do I see the abundance in the text, not only do I see the amnesia in the text, not only do I see the advantages in the text, but let me close by telling you about the audacity in the text. It's right there in verses 17 and 18. You say your power and your might has gotten you what you got. You got the audacity to give yourself credit. Are you listening to me? You're going to pat your own self on the back. You're going to say, I pulled my own self up by the bootstrap. When you fail to realize if God didn't give you no boots, you wouldn't even have a strap. Am I right about it? He said, how dare you give yourself the credit for what you come through? How dare you give yourself the credit for what you have? He said, it's the Lord who gives you power, who gives you the ability to get wealth. I'm closing right there. Notice he said, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God. It is he that giveth thee power to get wealth. He did not say, the emphasis here is not on getting wealthy. You hear me? The verse didn't say it is he who giveth you power to get wealthy. Because God knows some of us can't handle being wealthy. We can't handle being rich. Some of us will forget about a church exists if we were rich. And I know what we say. Lord, if you give me $1 million, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do right. But God knows you better than you know yourself. If we can't act right with the little, we're not going to act right with much. Am I right about it? And so he did not say that he gives you power to become wealthy. But yet you don't have to be wealthy in order to receive wealth. Am I right about it? You see, all of us receive wealth. Yeah, some people might say, well, preacher, I live from paycheck to paycheck. That's wealth, because you still get a check. Some folks say, well, preacher, I'm on a fixed income. That's wealth, because God fixed that so you could get a fixed income. Are y'all praying with me? If you got transportation, that's wealth. If you got shoes to put on your feet, that's wealth. If you got clothes to put on your back. If you, like me, had to go stand in your closet and have a chance to look and see which one you wanted to wear, that's wealth. When you had to pick what shoes you want to put on, that's wealth. Have I got a witness? When you got more than one car, if you got one car in the driveway, that's wealth. Am I right about it? Yes, if you're in your right mind, that's wealth. Have I got a witness? He said, it is he who gives you power to get wealth. Notice what he said. He said that he might keep his covenant that he made with your fathers. Am I right about it? All he was saying was, I'm going to do that. Not because you've been good, but because of the promise I made to your parents and to your grandparents. How many of you here know everything you've experienced in life is not because of your goodness, but somebody prayed for you. Big mama prayed for you. Pawpaw prayed for you. You're making it because of what somebody else did for you. Have I got a witness? So as I come to a close, I thank God for Jesus and what he's done for me. Anybody here remember Jesus and what he's done for you? I thank God for the troubles I had. Because the truth of the matter is, my troubles bring me closer to God. Have I got a witness? I can say what the songwriter said when he said, I thank God for my mountains. I thank him for my valleys. I thank him for all the trials he brought me through. If I never had a problem, I wouldn't know that God could solve them. I wouldn't know what faith in God can do. Through it all, I learned to trust in Jesus. I learned to trust in God. Through it all, I learned to depend on the word. Ain't God alright? Anybody here thank God that he's with you even in your struggles? He's with you in your problems. He didn't bring you this far to leave you now. Hold on, he'll see you through. Anybody know he will? Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. God bless you. God uses trouble sometimes to bring sinners to be saved. He uses trouble to bring backsliders back to him. There are advantages to our adversities. I want to extend the invitation. I invite you to come to Jesus.